How many shoes are they willing to drop? Apparently, what they want is only the official reporting from officially sanctioned outlets. So this would be organizations like the Vatican News, America Magazine in the United States. There's a shoe store worth of shoes ready to drop this year.
Anthony Stine is back on the program from Return to Tradition. Dr. Stine has uncovered an article in a German outlet that apparently says the Vatican is paying very close attention to what's going down in Catholic media. Is Catholic media the problem child here? Are we causing the most problem? We're going to ask that question with Dr. Stine.
By the way, my name is Joe McLean. I host a radio program called A Catholic Take, where we look at the world through a Catholic lens. I'd love for you to hang out with us. If you like it, give it a thumbs up and let us know what you think in the comments below.
Joining us right now as returning to the team is Dr. Anthony Stine. He had a great video on his YouTube channel just yesterday about an article that came out on a German outlet that basically says Catholic media is the problem. Specifically, Catholic media types in America are the problem. They're the ones causing all the division. And I found it utterly fascinating. Dr. Stine, welcome to the show. Good morning to you. Thanks for being on with us.
Good morning once again, and thank you for having me on.
Why are you such a troublemaker, Dr. Stine? It's clearly all your fault.
It is, apparently.
The Vatican is just paying attention now for the first time. Seriously, though, what is the story here?
I was fascinated reading that article before I did that video, because usually when you see bishops complaining about podcasters and bloggers and things, inevitably they throw Dr. Taylor Marshall's name into this, and I guess they forgot this time to do it, but because that's practically part of the script, you have to invoke him somewhere in this, but they didn't mention him today. But apparently what they want is only the official reporting from officially sanctioned outlets. So this would be organizations like the Vatican News, America Magazine in the United States. That article came from katholisch.de, which is the official news arm of the German Bishops' Conference. The same German bishops who wanted to implement gay blessings and openly said the church needs to change its teaching on homosexuality, and they want to have laymen and lay women preaching at Mass on Sunday. Those same German bishops, okay? And the reason for this, I think, goes back to that Fiducia Supplicans document. What happened with that document? What do we see? We saw the official news outlets all say one thing, which was, well, this doesn't change church teaching. It's a pastoral consideration to make people with same-sex attraction feel more welcome in the church. But we also saw literally every good and every traditional leaning and every moderate bishop in the church stand up and say no. Every single one of them, it seems like, said no. And those of us critiquing that document are just leaning on what those bishops are saying. But the persistent critique of this document now, almost 2 months later, is still from the independent Catholic media. It's not from the mainline Catholic media at all. They've basically moved on, which will be very interesting because we now have word there's a document coming from Cardinal Fernandez on human dignity, which I can't wait for. I cannot wait to see what the author of Heal Me With Your Mouth has to say about human dignity.
The doctrine chief now, Fernandez, seems like he has to always go back and reiterate everything he's already come out with because he doesn't like us media types criticizing him on that. Well, if you got to clarify your statements, maybe that could be an indicator of things.
Right. It got bad enough that as somebody who does daily news every single day of the week, I started having to do a live stream and a standalone news video to keep up. And it's actually gotten to the point now where there's more stories coming out that I still can't keep up with in the effort to be concise in my reporting. And this is on top of not only that human dignity document that we're rumored to be getting, but there has been a document that was talked about changing rules for the conclave. And as soon as sources in Rome started telling various Catholic media outlets that this was coming, immediately the Vatican had to deny it. And then a meeting was held between Pope Francis and the cardinal who is in charge of writing said document. That was made publicly known. They were having a meeting. So we know there's other things coming this year. At least those two things. There's something on the conclave. The conclave is the election of the Roman pontiff. And that document was rumored to have anybody over the age of 80 cannot participate in any way in the conclave, no longer vote. They can't even be in the room anymore. What does that mean? That means Cardinal Brandmuller can't be in there. A fair number of these better cardinals. Cardinal Robert Sarah is like 78 years old or 79 years old. He's getting close to that age himself, right? So they can't even be in the room, which means that's a tacit way of saying they can't even be elected pontiff. There's been a Humanae Vitae follow-up rumor document. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're hearing. And it's how many shoes are they willing to drop out of it? He begins to feel like there's a shoe store worth of shoes ready to drop this year.
Did you see the cardinal in Africa, the one that went to Rome and pushed back on Fiducia Supplicans? And God bless him for doing that. That cardinal also said that he believes that this whole controversy over Fiducia Supplicans basically casts a huge shadow, on my words, not his, over the Synod on Synodality. What did you make of that?
Well, the Synod on Synodality is supposed to be about listening, the listening church. But what happened with Fiducia Supplicans? You had enormous pushback, and all the pushback was ignored. We were told when we had problems with this document that we need to just keep rereading the document and pray on it until we accepted it. That's not the listening church. I don't know what this is, but that's not their so-called listening church. So yeah, synodality got torpedoed a bit by this. But again, there's a final phase of the synod coming this year too. October. It'll wrap up then, and then in 2025 we'll get a document from Francis that will give us his take on the final issued document from the synod itself. And the synod itself is about process. People were expecting deaconesses and married clergy and all things. The synod is about process. It's about getting laity involved in these conversations. And if there's ever anything going to come out of that, it's going to be a call from the synod demanding laity participation and other things, which brings us back to that conclave. One of the things that was rumored to be coming for about that conclave was either the more moderate version, which are laity in the room at a conclave, which is unprecedented, to have them pressure the bishops to choose someone who will listen to the laity more, or be the more extreme version, which is up to 25% of the voting personnel at the conclave being laity. Think about that for a moment, because which laity will be invited? Whoever gets handpicked. Exactly.
We don't get a choice in that, right?
Right. The last time laity elected a pope was something like the 4th century or something. It's been a long time. The laity in Rome used to elect the pope, but that was a long time ago. I don't like talking about rumors, but these were all credible. These were all very credible rumors, judging from how Rome reacted to them when they were leaked.
What do you think? Can you just speculate for a second? How do you think that they track the various voices? I mean, they're using common tools like Twitter feeds, or how would they track these voices?
I wish they were that sophisticated. Have you been to the Vatican's website? It looks like that the last time it got an update was like the 1990s. I suspect strongly that this is done through the Dicastery for Communications, where Father James Martin is a consultor there, by the way. And I fully expect it's literally just low-tier priests, transitional deacons, who are just happy to have a job in the Dicastery and in the Roman Curia, literally watching all this stuff on YouTube and following people on Twitter and reading blogs and taking notes, because I cannot imagine the Vatican is that sophisticated. And so I sometimes like to joke in a live stream or in a video for everybody to pray for my Vatican handler. Say a prayer for whichever poor soul has to watch my content every day.
I saw that you put out a video today on Father Martin hanging out with the Irish bishops. Care to comment on that?
Well, they keep telling us that this document is not about blessing gay unions and things, the persons of the union, but not the union that defines them as a couple, which is weird. The flies on the wall were that only one bishop objected to him being there, but not even very strongly, and that they openly talked about gay blessings for couples and the possibility of gay marriage in the church.
I'd love to get your opinion, especially when it comes to Catholic media. Do you think it's possible that certain people within the hierarchy of the church could ramp up enough pressure to shut down independent Catholic voices?
I'm very curious how they would enforce that, because I could easily see a document being issued by the Vatican on behalf of Francis that he signs saying, silencing all unapproved Catholic media. We got a hint of that after the Summer of Shame. There was a point in 2019, I think it was, when Bishop Barron came out with this proposal to put for a sort of a digital badge that would go on to approved Catholic websites and news outlets.
I remember.
So, Yeah, that went over like a lead balloon. And people were, I think there were a lot of people who lost a lot of faith in him when he did that, right? They were willing they were willing to accept his sort of moderate takes on controversial topics. But as soon as he started talking about approved Catholic media, I think a lot of people lost faith in him. But that idea, I doubt, has been tabled. I just don't know how they would enforce it. They could try to get bishops to do it, but have you noticed something about the American bishops? That most of them just sort of smile and nod and issue a vague statement of vague generalities of support for more controversial things, and then they try to just pretend it didn't happen. I kind of suspect that would happen with this too, because I think they know that would blow up in their face if they tried to silence Taylor Marshall. I keep going back to him because he's the biggest one. If what happened to church militant hadn't happened, I think Michael Voris said some pretty strong things about Archbishop Vigneron over the years. Because you notice the Archbishop did not use power that he had legitimately available to him to try to silence church militant. He could have tried.
But I think the real challenge is going to be, I don't have a crystal ball, and I'm not a son of a prophet, but I see a future coming very quickly now where within your suburban parish, the divide becomes so clear, so stark, that you are forced to take a side. You are forced to pick a team. Mm-hmm. You're 100% on team progressive agenda, or you are a heretic. That's how it's going to come down. And I can certainly see how Catholic organizations, 501c3s in particular, are going to take a huge beating. And I think that's coming faster than I would like it to be. Would you say that's fair?
I think that's what you saw with Courage, the famous group who worked with outreach for same-sex attracted Catholics who wanted to live according to the church's teaching. They embraced fiducia supplicans. I was surprised. Most people were surprised when they did that, but they did that. I tend to think that for your podcasters, if they tried to do something like that, it would probably actually be the best advertising imaginable for them.
That's right.
Which is why they might
endorsement.
Which would yeah, that's why that for people wondering what's going on, they'd be like, oh, I got to go check this stuff out. That's probably what would happen. Yes. But that divide already exists, though, at the parish level. I'm going to give you an example of this. I had a listener of mine in my live chat a few days ago tell me that he brought his concerns about fiducia supplicans to his bishop. And his bishop said, fiducia supplicans is an infallible document issued under the infallible authority of the Roman pontiff. And if you do not submit to it, you are excommunicated. And he refused to submit, so he was excommunicated by his bishop. Told me that in his live chat in Ireland.
Wow.
The same bishops who just met with James Martin about gay blessings. Yeah. Ireland. So that is coming. Now, for anybody who actually understands what papal infallibility is, you understand that bishop has found the outer fringes of hyperpapalism and just jumped off the edge of it into some uncharted territory. Because no one thinks that document is an infallible document, but apparently that bishop does.
I mean, who do we believe now? Which bishops do we believe? Do we believe, Bishop Ireland, who wants to say that it's infallible and you're excommunicated? Or do we believe the African bishops? Or do we believe this cardinal or that cardinal? I mean, it's like it's a mixed bag and everyone has their opinions. And I think this is causing so much scandal and confusion in the church. I mean, why do you do what you do, Dr. Anthony Stine?
Because souls are at stake.
Bingo.
When I came into the church years ago, it finally felt like I was at home, but the feeling I got was similar to what would happen if a young man was courting a young woman and discovered that she was being abused at home, and the feeling that he had if he truly loved that woman. That's how I started to feel about this.
Yeah. Because we Catholics need to be the first in line to say there's a log in our eye before we deal with a speck in someone else's eye. And we should turn the lights on and shine the light of Christ so the cockroaches start running, because they should never feel at home in the Church of God.
Did you like that video? It's okay. You can admit it. It's perfectly fine. Hey, we cover the big stories of our day, from inside the church to outside the church to all points in between, and we do it from a Catholic perspective. It's called A Catholic Take. It's a radio program Monday through Friday. We live stream it right here on this channel, by the way, so make sure to subscribe, like, and share. We would be very grateful to you. And don't forget, you're going to want to watch this video right here because you don't want to miss anything.